No. I mean, I'll tell you a quick story. I was with Washington. I think it was the 94 draft, and we drafted two quarterbacks, one fourth or fifth overall and one in the seventh round. And the very first day of minicamp, we went through all the number ones, went through their reps, and then we repeated the script. And I was standing there with Bostic and with the offensive line, Riley McKenzie and Ed Simmons and Jimmy Lachey. And I said, God, just on the first glance, the guy we drafted in the seventh round is way better than the guy we drafted in the first round. Way better. And first rounder was Heath Schuler. Seventh rounder was Gus Frerotte, who went on to play 15 years in the league. So, yeah, I mean, you see it all the time. The problem being, and not to disparage Heath or anything like that, but it's one of those situations where in the draft, oftentimes teams draft athleticism because it's the easiest thing in the world to see, right?
Right.
It's easy to see athleticism. It's easy to see athletic talent. It's easy to see guys who run fast and jump high and can do burpees. I always say this, football is really hard for athletes. It's easy for football players. And you got to get a great football player that happens to be an exceptional athlete. That's, that to me is the real trick. And I'm with you. You draft need, but you got to have good players up and down your roster. And that's really what it amounts to. People look at Tampa Bay and say, well, Tampa Bay, it was just the quarterback. Are you kidding me? I mean, Jameis Winston threw 30 picks and had 9 fumbles. Like 39, you can't overcome 39 turnovers. That roster is loaded, especially on the defensive side. They just put a stabilizing force at the quarterback position in there, and they went on to win a world championship. But that roster, what Jason Light has done in Tampa Bay, that roster is freaking awesome. It's just awesome.
Yeah, they can really draft. So Russell Wilson's story in The Athletic today, he watched the Super Bowl with Brady. He sat in a box with his wife next to Roger Goodell and seethed. And when he went back to Seattle, he went to Pete Carroll and said, can you guys give me a heads up on the offensive line? What are we doing? Where are we going? He's been sacked 400 times in 9 years, and Seattle largely dismissed him. During the season, a game against Arizona on Thursday, he went in with some ideas. The coaches largely dismissed him. How much say should a quarterback have? How much did Elway have? How much say should a quarterback have, Mark?
Well, I think you definitely, Russell Wilson's one of the hardest working guys in football. I think one thing that you have to be really aware of is, yeah, he's been hit a lot. Yeah, he brings a lot of those on himself. Yeah, he makes a lot of plays when he pulls the ball down and starts scrambling around and plays a little schoolyard, but he also puts himself in harm's way. So I would ask, of those sacks, how many are you directly responsible for? Because you didn't take the first option. You decided to hold on to the ball and you decided to make a play. That's a double-edged sword for Russell Wilson because he does that quite often. So I understand the frustration. Part of being able to protect your quarterback is not better offensive linemen. It's a better scheme and it's play calling. And how does that affect you? Like, how do you run the ball? How do you mitigate? One of the things that was really impressed upon me, and this was from Sean Payton, how do you mitigate if you're going to drop back 35 times, which is an average Sunday for any quarterback? You're under mental duress 35 times. How, as a coaching staff, do I mitigate those 35 dropbacks and give you 10 or 12 easy answers right off the bat? How many times do I set up play action? How many times do I have a difference between play action and run action? How many times can I take those 35 reps and at the end of the day only have my offensive line really responsible to block without some type of deception 12 times? Because then I can last forever. Then I eliminate those sacks. But everybody just looks at the O-line and says, well, the O-line is crappy. They give up a bunch of sacks. I normally look at, like for instance, go back to the Super Bowl. Like, was that a really bad offensive line or was that a really bad game plan? When you go 92% of the time, you go on 5 out. So you're in 5-0 protection with 3 backups. That's coaching.
Yeah.
That's not a crappy offensive line. Like, what do you expect backup players to do? And if you don't protect them, if you don't call a play, and if you don't call an offense to mitigate some of the potential disasters, well, that's on you as a coaching staff. So that to me is what you have to parse out. How much is on Russell? How much is on the coaching staff? How much is on the system? And how can we mitigate those hits on Russell Wilson? And that's what they have to do to I guess, to solve the issue and to, for those guys to come together. That's what needs to be talked about.
So finally, J.J. Watt. So J.J. is one of the only defensive players in the NFL that I think has a brand. And he's obviously leaking stuff, and, he's stoking this thing, and God love him for it. We're here to be used. Slide into my DMs, and I'll support you as well. It is interesting, though, when you got the money and you got the Hall of Fame stuff, I think I'd want to win games. Like, I think Green Bay works for him, or Kansas City. Mark, you tell me. And you were an offensive lineman and a lower pick, so you didn't get a lot of money. But in the end, how much of a driving force is money early and late in your career? What do you think goes through J.J. Watt's mind now? Because the stories I'm seeing are 15, 16 million. And Cleveland's the one team that has cap space, and I don't think it's the best place to go. But if it's money, they maybe can afford him.
Yeah, I think it comes down to, I think it really comes down to early in your career. You're trying to win. Obviously, everybody's competing. This game is too hard to lose. It just stinks when you lose. But when you've done all the things that J.J. Watt has done, he built his career and his brand followed. I think that's a very important distinction. He became the best player in football on the defensive side of the ball. And then the brand came with him. Then he started the philanthropic stuff that he does. And the guy's a phenomenal human being and a phenomenal athlete. There's no question about that. Now it comes down to, man, I want a ring, right? I've got the money. I've got the celebrity. I've got the Hall of Fame status. I want a championship. And then you've got to decide who gives you ultimately the best chance to win a championship. And then you follow the quarterback, right? You follow Tom Brady. You follow Aaron Rodgers. You follow Patrick Mahomes. You go somewhere, even if it's at a hometown discount or a away discount. But whatever the best fit is for you to win a world championship, that's where you go, even if it costs yourself a couple $100,000.
Yeah. Mark Schlereth, he redid the room in his house. It looks great. I tend to just sell my house and buy a new one. Schlereth, I bet you've been in that house for 25 years. Am I right?
21 years.
See, that's who you are, though. That's the offensive line mentality I love. You don't bail on your house. You give love to your house. I just bail on my house.
Right. I don't commit adultery on my house. I just say, I love you, and I'm going to repaint you, baby.
I love that. That guy's committed, folks. Good seeing you, Schlereth.
You too, buddy.
I knew he owned that house forever. That's Mark Schlereth. Me, I'm just flirting with a new house.
You like moving, I think.
Like
you claim you don't like moving, but you move a lot. For somebody that doesn't like moving.
My actions are louder than my words.
Use the balance there.
I like transition. I like challenges.
You're very comfortable with change.
That's it. I'm very comfortable with the pivot.
See the positive switch on that?
Thank you. Instead of weirdo, I come across as Elon Musk in one sentence. All right, what do we got today? Sarah Kustok, she's great. She'll be joining us this hour. I will draft the first round last hour. So you're going to see how I operate. My savviness, my craziness. I'm going to make first round, first 16 picks. We're going to do half of the first round. We were going to do the first round, but I'm so weird I couldn't stop talking. I'd go for like 2.5 hours. So we're going to do 16 picks with Daniel Jeremiah, who's terrific. Whether you went through it or watched it unfold on the news from afar, you know that it's been incredibly challenging for people in the state of Texas. They just... beyond pipes freezing. I mean, it was rough. So our friends at Tecovas, based in Austin, Texas, want to help. Hope you'll consider joining them now through Sunday. Tecovas is donating $50 for every pair of ranch boots they sell to Feeding Texas, an amazing organization that provides food to those who need it most. Whether you buy a pair of ranch boots or not, Tecovas asks that you please consider supporting Feeding Texas. As always, Tecovas offers free shipping, returns, and exchanges. We encourage you to